success, ideas,
motivation.
So let's see if this works. Hi. Heroes, childhood idols. I guess most of us here in the room have people who inspire us. It could be movie stars, Nobel Peace Prize winners, adventurers. When I was a kid, my hero was a beekeeper from New Zealand. My hero was this man, Edmund Hillary. He is the person who climbed first the top of Mount Everest, and he famously once said, "It's not the mountains we conquer, but ourselves." Now, I grew up in a small village in Austria, and in the back of our garden, I was replaying these final steps all the time with the rope of my father, this climbing to the top of the world, and breaking out of that small village into the big world and achieving something great. Little did I know that 6 years later, I would have the opportunity myself to go to that mountain and try to follow in my hero's footsteps. First, I ventured out of my village, I finished university, and I ended up in a relatively tough job. I was working in an investment bank, doing long hours, 12, 14, 15-hour days. But I didn't forget my dream. So how did this guy from a small village end up on Mount Everest? Well, the most important thing is, I started the first step. It's always the most important thing on a journey is to set your first step, and then it's step after step. So climb one mountain, then the next mountain, then the next mountain. Then, if you venture out on a great journey, it's important to have people around you trust, especially when you go on a mountain. You need to have a team around you and people you venture out and you trust with your life. And third is learn from your mistakes. Wherever you go, you always make mistakes, but best, and especially when you go into the mountains, you only make the mistakes once. So these three rules brought me to the mountain, and almost 6 years after my hero was at a mountain, I was attempting it myself. Slowly, I was pushing myself step by step up the final slopes of Mount Everest, and I have to see this as years and years coming together of my preparation, of dreams, of week-long waiting at the mountain, pushing myself higher, and the oxygen is so low that you can only do 2 steps and then you stop. So I ventured into the last tent, the campsite, crawled into my tent, and this is about 8,000 meters, 8 kilometers above sea level, and you cannot breathe, and you lie in the tent, and I was like, this is where my childhood dream comes true. It's not far to the top anymore, and I was lying there resting for the final attempt. And from there it was actually really close to the top. It's actually just a small snow slope to the top. And I bound my shoes and ventured out, and what happened? Exactly when I was going out, I realized that the weather was much worse than I expected. Instead of blue sky, we had snow, the wind was blowing, but it's my childhood dream, it's my only chance, we need to get up there. So I was pushing on, step after step after step, going higher, coming closer to my goal. But the wind was blowing, the wind was getting stronger. I was freezing off my hands, my face was starting to freeze, and as I was just about an hour away from the summit, I had to realize this is just too cold. It's too cold. Yes, it's my dream to climb the highest mountain in the world, but is it worth to die for? I radioed to my friend, and he came on the radio back, said, like, retreat. So we turned around, we walked down, wrong direction, but what was first a pursuit of a childhood dream quickly turned into a battle for life and death. And we crawled back to our tents, and I crawled into my tent, and I cuddled up with my sleeping bag, and I was just full of frustration. I was so close to actually fulfill my childhood dream, and there I am in my tent. So I was lying there in the tent, and the obvious question was, well, I mean, what do I do here? Like, why I'm here in the first place? And I was asking that as I was freezing, and my tent mate was saying, like, yeah, well, you know, we clearly didn't make it, but a thing happened there. As I was there, probably was the low oxygen. I was thinking, is it really a frustration to not reach the top? Why is it only the top, the summit, that counts for me? Why is it not the whole experience, the whole journey that actually is the thing that actually makes the difference? And what came together was that I was reminded of a Buddhist monk I met on my journey to Everest. And that monk had told me, you know what? Happiness and success is not linked to reaching your destination. It's the direction, it's the journey that counts. And that started to, as simple as it sounds, that started to resound for me when I was lying there in my sleeping bag. And I started thinking about, wow, we had this amazing journey, all this stuff that I achieved on my way in there. I was already at 8,000 meters, so many people have not even come that close. And then I started to even think further. In my job, when I work 12 hours, 14 hours, is it not always just the goal, this imaginary chasing of something that makes the difference for us? Is it not always my colleague who earns more money? Is it not the promotion I didn't get that actually was chasing me? Is it not much more important to be happy and content with what I do right now? So all this stuff went through my head. And the picture that obviously came to me was that of a hamster running in its wheel and basically not coming, always chasing for the next success, for the next goal. Or that donkey that has a carrot dangling in front of his head. And I thought, like, okay, that's a cool cartoon to show you tonight, this afternoon. But actually, I looked at my dog, who was sitting next to me when I was doing it. Hopefully I can show this. He's very smart, by the way. But he was actually doing exactly what I was doing in my job. I was just chasing my tail. I was doing all the time, looking for the next success, aiming for the next big thing, rather than looking out for the journey. And when I was sitting in the tent, I said, okay, whatever happens, I'm just happy and content where I'm there. I'm alive, I had an amazing experience, and that's where it goes. And the storm went on, hour after hour, and about a day later, we're still in that sleeping bag. The storm started to die down, the sun came out, blue sky, and I had a second chance. I opened my tent, I ventured out, put my boots on, climbed up, step for step, but every step full of happiness, of walking up there. And in the early morning hours of the 18th of May, 2013, I stood on the top of the world. I looked out across the world, and for me it was sort of a journey that reached its destination. But in one aspect, it was a new journey that started at that point in time. The journey where I say that actually, whatever you do, just make sure you're happy with what you do. And when you venture out tonight and spend the rest of the Sunday, make sure, or think about it, whether you're there for the journey or just for the destination. Thank you.